Let's be real, 2025 has been a weird year for Nintendo Directs. Things started off pretty strong with us getting two back-to-back Directs in March and April, but as the months have continued to go by, all that goodwill has kinda fizzled out, as we haven't had a traditional Direct since the Switch 2 Direct back in April, and by the looks of it, I don't think we're gonna get one for the rest of the year. So then what the fuck is this? Even before this rumor started to spread around, I had already said that I think a September Direct is very likely, as it's generally been one of the most consistent months for Directs, period. I just don't think it's gonna be a regular one. Instead, I think it's very likely that this will ultimately end up being a Mario's 40th Anniversary Direct. Why? Well, for starters, they haven't done jack shit for Mario's 40th anniversary as it is, and to be quite honest, Mario's the only IP that they really do this for anyway. I mean, look back at 2020, we got a Mario 35th Anniversary Direct in September of that year. Why they wouldn't do one for his 40th seems almost illogical. I get it, the jokes write themselves. Alright, let's be honest though, what seems more likely to be celebrated, a 35th anniversary or a 40th? Hell, let's take it one step back. What do you think would be celebrated more, a 30th anniversary or a 35th? You see what I'm saying? This would also follow this year's Direct trends very nicely, as this year has been dominated by these smaller, more game-specific Directs. Obviously, an Anniversary Direct would cover more than just one game, I would hope, but you kinda get the picture. The Mario 35 Direct from 5 years ago ran for approximately 16 minutes and 13 seconds, and when comparing that to some of the other Directs from this year, it actually fits in pretty nicely. Now, I do want you to take what I say with a massive grain of salt, because other than this past precedent from 5 years ago, as well as just a gut feeling, I really don't have anything to prove that this is 100% gonna be the case. I have about as much credibility as these dipshits online making these predictions day in and day out. Correction, I probably have more. So then what exactly should we expect from a potential Mario's 40th Anniversary Direct? Well, here are just a few predictions that I have for that very topic. For some reason, I have gaslit myself into believing that this is the most likely thing to occur in the event of an actual 40th anniversary celebration. I am still genuinely baffled by a lot of the decisions made during Mario's 35th anniversary, with two of the biggest being the fact that 3D All-Stars was a timed exclusive and the fact that Nintendo completely neglected Galaxy 2 from just about everything, which is weird because it's arguably the better game. And believe it or not, I haven't forgotten since, but there is thankfully a very easy solution. In fact, it's a very Nintendo and very Switch 2-esque solution. So one of the things Nintendo has tried to make a thing are these Switch 2 editions of regular games, which if you didn't know, have all fucking sucked. Yes, even you. The only exception so far is the one for Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and that's because as of the writing of this video, and well, as of the recording of this video, it isn't out yet, but I do feel pretty confident in saying that it'll probably be the only good one, and if it isn't, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But the point remains, Nintendo could easily re-release 3D All-Stars with the added addition of Galaxy 2 through these means, which I honestly think would be really cool. It's kind of funny because I actually did propose this kind of solution all the way back when the game was originally announced. So if this does end up being the case, man, that would be pretty cool for me on a few different levels. Granted, I'm sure that if this is announced, we're bound to get some professional Nintendo haters shitting on it because it's like overpriced or something, but if you do the math, each game would still end up being like $20. And for some of the greatest 3D platformers of all time and Sunshine, that's a pretty good deal. Just don't do the same shit as last time. This is one of those predictions that was going to be made whether or not this was going to be a 40th Anniversary Direct. I think enough time has passed where we can all agree that Mario Kart World needs a big update. Sure, many people were also saying that when the game came out, but since the release of Donkey Kong Bonanza, this game has kind of died off a little bit, and given that World is likely going to be the main Mario Kart game for quite a while, that is not good. It's pretty much common consensus at this point that this game will receive some sort of DLC before the end of the year, and what better time to reveal that than during a Mario-specific Direct? Oh, right. So, yeah, this is a weird one. The whole DLC thing for Mario Kart World has been based on the premise that much of it will be focused on Donkey Kong and subsequently Donkey Kong Bonanza, potentially including some skins and characters that may have spoiled the game before it even came out. That's what most people have assumed, and I think that's still gonna be the case, but because this is still Mario Kart, it does boost its potential for being shown here quite a bit. And hell, up until recently, Nintendo still considered Donkey Kong a Mario character, which has thankfully changed. But if we aren't getting another regular Direct for the rest of the year, it just makes sense for something like this to be shown off here instead. At the end of the day, it's still going to be an update for a Mario game, and hell, they could even be including more content than just Bonanza stuff, making it a more general update for the game rather than a Donkey Kong specific one. Also, Donkey Kong turns 45 next year. Despite how much I may love this game, Mario Maker 2 definitely fell short of many people's expectations, especially Nintendo's, as they stopped adding major updates to the game less than a year after its release, falling short of the original, which kept being updated for over 2 years. And since the release of that final update in April of 2020, we have not heard a fucking thing about this game. I mean, people still do play it, but in the eyes of Nintendo, this game is kinda dead. In retrospect, the Switch was probably the weirdest console to release a Mario Maker game on, because other than in handheld mode, it is an absolute nightmare to make levels on. And man, could you imagine just how much worse it would be if you could use pointer controls? I would fucking kill myself. But the Switch 2's a little different. If you haven't heard, this thing has a little new feature known as mouse mode. I yield my time. In all seriousness, Mario Maker 3 would be the perfect game to show off the Switch 2's mouse controls, because we know this thing sure as fuck didn't. It would be an immediate match made in heaven. Granted, nothing will ever top this setup, but considering that the Switch 2 is much more consumer friendly, this will have to do. I also think the fact that Mario Paint being recently put on Switch Online helps this case even more. For those who may not know, a lot of the quirks and stylistic choices of the original Mario Maker were taken straight out of Mario Paint. So to be getting it now of all times is just a little strange. It might be a bit of a stretch, but it could be some subtle foreshadowing that not only is Mario Maker 3 coming somewhat soon, but will also go back to being as quirky and unique as the original, something Mario Maker 2 was surely lacking in. And honestly, it would be really cool to see Mario Maker make a real comeback, as there really was a lot of lost potential on the Switch. This one I think is pretty self-explanatory. We have been waiting since 2017 for any sort of news about a new 3D Mario, and when it wasn't shown off at the Switch 2 Direct, a lot of people were genuinely shocked, as most people believed a new 3D Mario game was an absolute lock for that Direct. Instead, we would end up getting a trailer for what would ultimately be Donkey Kong Bonanza. I never said I was mad, but a lot of people did and still are kind of worried that Bonanza may have been signaling the end, or at the very least a decline for 3D Mario, for some reason. But shortly after that Direct, Doug Bowser, the current president of Nintendo of America, did say to quote, "Stay tuned when talking about a new 3D Mario game." So at the very least, it is coming. When exactly is it coming? I don't know, but if it is somewhat close to completion, I do see Nintendo at least teasing something about the game, very similar in a way in which they teased Bowser's Fury during the Mario 35 Direct. Now my delusional ass still thinks it could possibly be Galaxy 3, but whatever the game ends up being, I have a pretty strong feeling that we're gonna hear something about it sooner rather than later. I'm not even gonna lie, I completely forgot this was happening, and if this release date is still accurate, then yeah, of course, I could easily see them doing at the very least something. Now this could be an array of things, from more voice actor confirmations, an announcement of its own dedicated Direct, or even just its official name, whatever it may be. If this is in fact a Mario-centric Direct, I can almost guarantee that we'll get some sort of news in regards to the upcoming sequel. Like I said at the beginning of the video, take everything I say here with a massive grain of salt, because for the most part, I am kinda talking out of my ass, but I do legitimately think the whole September Direct thing is actually going to be a Mario's 40th specific Direct. It's just too perfect not to, but what do you all think? Do you think I'm right? And if so, what would you like to see in a Mario's 40th anniversary Direct within reason? I would love to hear from all of you in the comments down below, and hey, maybe you guys end up coming back to this video in like a month to see whether I was actually right or not. Who knows? Alright, see ya.